Need Jeremy to get back to his seat. All right, I see we're recording, so I think we're probably ready now. So I will call to order the Greenwood Redevelopment Commission on this, the 12th day of January of 2021. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
If I may have a roll call, please.
Mr. Hopper?
I'm here.
Mr. Hoover?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Present.
Mr. Campbell?
Present.
Mr. Moan?
Here.
Non-voting advisor, Mr. Alexander? And he will be marked as absent.
Well, we have a quorum, so we'll get started. Organizational matters, swearing in of commissioners, which I understand we've all done prior to the meeting, so we don't need to do again, correct?
That is correct. Everyone has
All
been.
right. I want to say you said something and I heard it and then it felt like you got cut off, Amanda. So I want to make sure you're still able to talk before we move on to the next one.
Yes, everyone.
Okay, I hear you. All right.
Everyone made it in.
Got it. All right. So verification that fiduciary bonds are in place. I know I've signed mine. Did everybody else sign theirs?
Yes, everyone has been in to sign as well.
Okay. Annual conflicts of interest for Mr. Hoover as attorney for the Greenwood Library Board, for Mr. Harris as Assistant Vice President with Fifth Third Bank, and for Mr. Campbell on the Common Council, who also contracts with Access Johnson County. Is there a motion to accept those conflicts of interest?
And just for the record, I do typically,
You amend it?
I include or state in the record what the conflicts of interests are for. As for Kevin Hoover, his relates to his relationship with the Greenwood Library Board. He represents the Greenwood Library Board, which may request project funding from the Redevelopment Commission TIF funds. And he is an attorney for the Greenwood Library Board. As for Brian Harris, he is an employee of Fifth Third Bank who is or may be a contractor or vendor of the city. And Fifth Third may conduct banking or financial services for the city of Greenwood. That's the gist of that disclosure. And then Mike Campbell, he discloses that Margaret Campbell, his spouse, has been hired by Access Johnson County, and the City of Greenwood Board of Public Works and Common Council contract with Access Johnson County and pay for annual services offered in the city. And I think that pretty much covers that one. I think you're ready to proceed.
Okay. I guess I'll take them individually because the person who they're about may want to abstain. So that makes it maybe easier for record keeping purposes. So well go Mr. Hoover first. Is there a motion to accept his conflict of interest?
I'll make that motion.
All right. I think I heard Mr. Harris first and then Mr. Campbell. So we'll go motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Campbell. Any questions? All right. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. One abstention from Mr. Hoover, so it is approved 4-0-1. Conflict of interest from Mr. Harris. Is there a motion?
I'll move that.
I'll make that.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Hoover, second by Mr. Moan. Thank you. Any questions? All right. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. Any abstentions?
Yes.
Mr. Harris, you abstain? Okay. Motion approved 4-0-1. And for Mr. Campbell, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Moan, second. Mr.
I'll
Harris,
second.
was that you? Thank you,
Yes.
sir. All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Abstain, Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
All right. Motion approved 4-0-1. All right. Moving on to election of officers. First up will be president of the RDC.
I nominate Mr. Hopper as president.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover.
Second.
I didn't hear who the
Second.
second was.
It's
Mr.
from
Moan.
me, I think. Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, I suppose. All those in favor of me continuing on for another year, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion approved 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. It's been an honor and a fun one at that. So glad to get to do it another year. Any nominations for
Congratulations.
vice president? Thank you. Nominations for vice president.
Move
Nominate
that-
Mr. Hoover.
I'll second.
Second.
Motion, I believe I heard Mr. Campbell first and then Mr. Moan. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. Any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of Mr. Hoover continuing on as vice president indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion
And I'll
approved
thank you for that
5-0.
honor. I'll thank you for that honor again. I would also comment that I told David earlier today that I felt like the Maytag repairman, because he's always been so faithful in attending the meetings and doing that I've had nothing to do.
I don't know if I've been on vacation for any of the meetings, but when they're all virtually, you can do it from anywhere.
That's right,
So
yeah.
it makes it a lot easier to do. So, yep. All right. Next up will be nominations for secretary.
I
Nominate
Mr.
Brian Harris.
All right. I heard Mr. Campbell
Second.
like half a second before Mr. Moan. So I'll give it to him first, second by Mr. Moan. Any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of Mr. Harris as secretary indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right. Mr. Harris will continue on as secretary. I guess that means we did a great job last year, that everybody wants us to do the same jobs again, or they just don't want them. I think it's probably what it more likely.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. Approval of minutes from our regular meeting on December 8th. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Harris.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hoover. Any
Mr. Hopper,
corrections?
I'll abstain on this. I
Okay.
missed that meeting and want to apologize to this commission for missing meeting. That was a surgery thing.
No worries. I don't know if it was your surgery or someone else's, but hopefully it went well.
It did.
So, good.
Good.
Any corrections, deletions, anything from anybody? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right. Minutes are approved 4-0-1. Is there a motion to approve our minutes from our special meeting on December 21st?
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Harris. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moan. All right. Any corrections, deletions from anybody? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion approved 5-0. New business, project status update on 523 South Madison redevelopment. I'm not talking about it, so I assume somebody here is.
Yep. Hey, everyone.
Hi,
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. At least I can.
Okay, great. If that changes, please let me know. Yeah, I just wanted to come. There's been a group of us that have been working with this for quite some time, and wanted to first bring you up to speed with current events. So we have entered into a non-binding memo of understanding with the developer to redevelop the former Greenwood Middle School site, or what's currently being referred to as 523 South Madison school parcels. And at this stage, we just entered into that, and we'd like to obviously recognize the contributions and the support that many of you have helped, but specifically, Mr. Hoover, your attendance and support in all those meetings has been helpful. And then obviously Councilman Hill's efforts early on, and then recently with the discussions as well. So at this stage, we are under a non-binding memo of understanding to broadly identify those terms. Today, what we're asking is we'd ask the Redevelopment Commission to consider a motion to move forward in those negotiations and start to draft a binding project agreement that would ultimately be presented to you all at a subsequent meeting early spring. So that's ultimately what we'd like to discuss today. And so I'll stop there. If there's any questions, or happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, why don't I go ahead and put a motion to approve the pending memorandum of understanding on the table before we have any of those discussions, so we can do it that way. As Adam mentioned, I and Ezra Hill were both involved in all the discussions. I shouldn't say all the discussions, some of the meetings we had between the various applicants for to do the project, and it been involved in the selection of the developer that the group has chosen. And Adam and Sam and their team have done an excellent job, I think, and certainly over my head in with respect to the finances and the development of this. But it seems like it's going to be an exciting project. So with that, before we have any discussion, I'd move that we approve the memorandum of understanding as prepared.
Motion by Mr. Hoover. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Harris, I think is who I heard.
Yep.
All right. Any discussion from anybody? All right. I'm assuming
I didn't mean to cut
Right.
anybody off. I just thought it'd be good to get the motion on board so we
that's
could
okay.
have a discussion.
Mr. President, could we add to that motion, giving the mayor or giving you the authority to sign for the Redevelopment Commission?
That's where I was going. My next question was who's going to sign this thing. So is that okay with you, Mr. Hoover, Mr. Harris?
Oh,
for
absolutely. Yes,
me to-
I
me
assume
to
that was
sign?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, just want to make sure. All right.
And I would
any
recommend that from a procedural standpoint, that the secretary of the commission also sign
sign.
off.
Giving you work to do, Mr. Harris. All right. Any further questions or comments for anybody? All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion approved 5-0. All right. So as I understand, there's a second part of that. Now we need a motion to move forward with a binding agreement as well, or is that in the memorandum of understanding that we're going to move forward with a binding agreement?
Yeah, I think we have presented to the developer that we were going to present the MOU to you all today, and then
Okay.
ask for your motion to see if you wanted to proceed in negotiation. So I would imagine that a second motion there, just so that we can document your all's willingness to proceed, I think would be of benefit.
Is there a
I'll make that
motion?
motion as well.
All right. Thank you, sir. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all for that. I just had two other quick housekeeping items on that.
Yep.
I don't know if this
Did
is.
we have a vote on that?
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
sorry.
vote on it real quick,
My
Adam, and then
mistake. My mistake.
and then you can have the floor again, sir. All right, any other questions or comments from the commission members? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion approved 5-0. I'll give a shout out to Kevin for doing all the heavy lifting on this and me swooping in at the end and signing stuff. So I appreciate that, Mr. Hoover.
Mhm.
All right, back to you, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry about that. Hey, I appreciate that. I know, well, there's a lot of folks on this team that will appreciate that motion, both of those. Really the next couple things I had were more housekeeping. First is, as part of drafting the project agreement, as part of the broader project, this public-private partnership, there's going to be bonds that will be needed. So there will be conversations with bond counsel, outside bond financial advisor, and possibly some additional design work with regards to design consultants. So ultimately, those engagements would be presented back to you all, but just wanted to at least let you know that we may start to have some of those conversations just as we start to draft that. So that's more of just an FYI. I don't believe there's any action that you need at this meeting. Ultimately, if those conditions are met and it makes sense to engage in those firms, we'll get those PSAs, those professional service agreements, in front of you all for a decision. And then lastly, there's one of the next steps here. We want to invite the developer in to present the project and their proposal and their plans and outlines to you all in a special executive session. So I'm not sure exactly how that gets scheduled, but to the extent that we want to follow that process, but I know that they're looking at maybe the last week of January or first week of February. I'll defer to you on how exactly those get scheduled.
They have a preference for one week or the other, or time of day? What can you give us a little?
I think, yeah, they let us know that their two principals would make any time of day work. I know internally for some of the city staff, I believe earlier in the morning tends to work a little better.
Adam, I think we'll work after the meeting with Amanda and also on it, because that has to be advertised and stuff to try to get some times. But I think the heads up to the members helps. But I think we'll work with Lisa and Amanda and whoever else to get that advertised and scheduled.
Very, very good.
I mean, I can try to make any day work. I'm trying to flip through my calendars here. That way you have an idea, at least when I would be available, and then we can work from there.
And Adam, Steve and Sam, this is an executive session, and would it be virtual?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that I noted in the memorandum of understanding, most of it, we touted it as a non-binding agreement. There are some binding obligations that are set forth, and they're basically about confidentiality of the terms. So I'm not certain, will these be publicly noticed meetings?
Well, it'll be noticed as an executive session, but the meeting itself would not be open to the public.
Okay. And I don't know who all has seen the memorandum of understanding yet from the RDC, but just if you could highlight for us, Sam or Stephen, the confidentiality issues we have to deal with. Make sure we don't inadvertently breach something.
Yes, the memorandum is for your consideration only, and you can't discuss the terms of the memorandum. The identity of the developer, I believe, has already been made public, but until the terms are agreed upon and presented to you for approval, those details should not be disclosed.
Thank you.
I would just add that is all pursuant to both the open door law and the access to public records laws, which provide exceptions for economic development activities like this.
I'll just throw it out there because I'm flipping back and forth. February 4th and January, I think 28th are the two best days for me, if anybody cares. So. All right.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Adam. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I think most of us have probably signed NDAs for a couple of things since we've been at least on the council or on the RDC, so probably not too much different from anything else. So to be expected, I suppose. All right. Moving on to capital project reports. Presidential Block 200 East Main Street. We have a professional service agreement with Aegis Environmental for phase 1 and phase 2 environmental study. I think if I'm right, it's an amount of $13,561.70. And this is probably the Kevin Steinmetz show, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
All right.
You guys got all fancy with your background, so I put up OCP, and I figured maybe I'll just, as long as we stay virtual, maybe I'll just fly you around. You know, maybe I'll go to Mr. Hopper's favorite city.
There you go.
But I got all the city pictures sitting here, so I can move them around. Yeah, so we also, we being the Redevelopment Commission / City, have a very, we think, attractive development parcel beyond the middle school parcel across from Fire Station 91, just to kind of review. And so we're working on so that at some point in the future, we can do a process similar to what we're working with right now. And to do that, we want to make sure that there are any environmental issues there or around there, we have them completely delineated. And this allows us to further delineate that block between McKinley and Washington, hence the term presidential block. And Aegeus is a firm the Redevelopment Commission has used a lot. They're local out of Bluff Road and move relatively quickly. So this will be another kind of set of pre-development work to allow the city at some point in time through the Redevelopment Commission to perhaps put that parcel into play and get it back on the tax roll.
All right.
So that'll be payable by the central tip.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for Kevin? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve amount not to exceed $13,561.70?
I'll motion that.
Motion by Mr. Harris, thank you, sir.
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell. Somebody's got a telephone call or a text. What's your cute little bell sound? I don't know who that is. Nice. All right. Any questions from any commission members? All right, hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion approved 5-0. Next up, County Line Madison Avenue project right-of-way services, consideration of appraisal services with Stevenson Realty Advisors. $5,200 flat fee, I think is what I saw.
Yeah, this is for 2 appraisals. This body, perhaps it was the Board of Works too, but I can't remember if we did that as well, but entered into an agreement with basically the consolidated city county of Indianapolis/Marion County to do some improvements at County Line in Madison. And last meeting, or at the November meeting, we approved 1 appraiser. This will be the second, which will allow us to start really moving forward on acquiring the 2 parts of parcels, if that makes sense. There's no takings assumed here, to make some improvements at that intersection right there at Speedway and the tire, Goodyear tire place. So this will be 2 appraisals and be payable via the Fry Road TIF. And when we do these projects with County Line, Indianapolis acquires the stuff on the north and we acquire the stuff on the south.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hoover, thank you, sir.
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell, appreciate it. All right. Any other questions, comments from any commission members? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion approved 5-0. Thank you, Kevin. Next up, financial reports, TIF update. Or just tax increment. Sorry, leave off the F.
That is me. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. So this was in the report as well, but just because it was year end, switch over to that here for a second. Hopefully y'all someone can confirm they can see my.
We can see it.
Yes.
Or I can see it.
Yep. Yes.
Why that's stuck there. Okay. It is somewhat frozen on my side. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you.
There we go. Okay. Very good. So for 2020 year end, these are unreconciled numbers right now, but for the year, the gross tax increment finance across all the different areas came in at $10,719,860. That's an all-time high for the Redevelopment Commission. It's a 3.3% increase over last year on those collections. So these were obviously assessments from the prior year, collections. Obviously, it was a challenging year with regards to especially that spring settlement. The finance department worked a lot with coordination with the county auditor's office to get the special distribution out early, and then ultimately we got the December settlement from the fall taxes. So when we look at this by area, there are a few specific tax districts that came in a little lower than we expected. So we have a data request out to the county auditor's office to look at the levied taxes versus what was collected at the parcel level to kind of get a little bit of understanding of what is still taxes that are still unpaid within the TIF, and just kind of get an understanding of what's going on with those taxpayers. So that's for that information we'll have in subsequent months as we've had a chance to look through all the parcel billings and see why some of that was unpaid. With that said, we obviously use this to update our planning forecast going forward. So the total amount 10.7, and then a couple other items that came in since your last monthly report is the I-65 and county line agreement was approved, and that financial transaction was closed. And that wire was received for $4.5 million. And that was received to the east side surplus account. You can see the total amount for the year in bank and investment interest that was generated, total amount of grant revenues, miscellaneous and reimbursements. On line 6, the total debt service that was paid across all TIFs was $5.7 million. Line 7 and 8 have a unique relationship. So there are many different funds that the Redevelopment Commission manages. Some of those are allocation funds, some of those are debt service reserve or debt proceed funds, and some are surplus funds. So with regards to the surplus funds, they had a transfer in of approximately 8.1 million and disbursements of 8.9. So they drew down their balances a little bit. And then ultimately the 12/31 ending available fund balances so these are fund balances that aren't, reserved for either a bond proceed or a capital project or debt service reserves. And so for East Side, it ended with 5.5 million, 1.6 for Fry Road, a little over 800,000 for the central expansion, and then around 638 for Southwest. And you can see the other smaller amounts for the smaller areas. So much more to come, but these are our preliminary year-end numbers. Once they're reconciled, we'll start working on the 2020 RDC annual report that will ultimately be adopted by you all and then submitted through the state's reporting system, which is called Gateway. So more to come. Happy to take any questions on any of these results, but over the next couple weeks, we'll be able to provide more of a full recap. And as we get into the annual report, we'll break this down by project and significant area. But I wanted to provide you all kind of an at a glance, at least for the year closed.
Hey, Adam, I had a question on item 9, the last line. I see that Southwest is the 600,000, Airport Parkway is 57,000, something is 39,000.
Yeah. Good catch. That's my mistake. I should have caught that. That is the Worsville Road TIF.
Okay.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
All right.
thank you very much.
Awesome. Yep, thanks, Adam. All right, moving on. Department reports, legal department, Mr. Hodson.
We have nothing to report.
All right, thank you, sir. RDC, Mr. Watson.
Yes, the only thing I have to report relates to the Neovia Economic Development Project compliance report. I sent out a summary of that report along with a copy of the report. And I generally summarized that it appears from the report that they're in compliance with the substantive requirements under the project agreement. I noted that the report was due, I think, in October, and they were a couple months late in getting it to us, but they have gotten that done. And I think under the circumstances that officially waiving that delay would be appropriate. And then ultimately, I concluded my recommendation email with a suggestion that we may consider completely waiving future compliance reports for this project because they have satisfied all of the substantive requirements under the agreement at this point. They're roughly, at least 8 years into the project agreement. And what's remaining would only be additional reports in future years, the next 2 years. And even if they didn't file those reports, there's no damages or remedies that we could enforce under the agreement at this point, since they have complied with all their obligations. And at this point, I just don't think that there's a whole lot of value, and there's some level of burden on both the city and Neovia to continue that process. So that's my suggestion on that, and I'll leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to do that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, my only question would be if they cut, 50% of their employees tomorrow and moved out of town, would there be recourse for us then if we're telling them that they don't have to come back and file a report?
Their obligation to stay in the city was through, I think it was June 30 of 2018.
Okay.
And so they've done that, obviously.
Yeah.
And so if they left now, there's no recourse.
Okay.
And they have paid taxes well in excess of what was estimated for the life of it or committed to for the life of it. So that's covered as well.
Okay.
Stephen, has this exception to the rule, I guess, if you will, been granted to any other entity? Or has anybody else completed all the requirements prior to the end of the term?
I think of One Click, that project, we had some other factors involved in ending that reporting requirement early. And it seems like we did modify in this agreement itself, the obligations, reporting obligations. In terms of completely eliminating the reporting obligation, I don't think that's been waived in any other agreement. But
Seems to me we would at least save some money on Mr. Watson's services if they didn't come back to us and he didn't have to review the agreements. If there's nothing we can do, even if they were to skip town and pull up shop tomorrow. So
Everybody's always trying to cut legal fees.
I'd say those lawyers, they're the worst.
It probably wasn't in my own self-interest to make that suggestion.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't. Which means it was probably a good suggestion.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find other work to give you. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I'll move that we waive the late filing deadline and that we also waive the remaining 2 annual compliance reports that they would have to submit.
Okay. I will second that. Any further discussion from the commission members? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Watson. Mr. Wright.
There's nothing from the controller's office.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Johnston from the city engineer's office.
Good afternoon. I got 2 items to discuss with you. One is Worsville Road 4B final change order. I'm actually going to request this to be continued until next month due to a typo on the form, the actual change order form that we identified today. But I'll give you just a heads up on the bottom line. This project did come in under budget. It was completed construction-wise in late 2019 with some cleanup in early 2020. We made our final payments for construction costs to the contractor mid 2020. Then COVID hit, and recently realized, we still need to do sort of a formal final change order. So Bottom line, it did come in under budget, so that is good news there. About $18,000 under budget, and that's also accounting for some increases due to change orders. There's about 2.5–3% worth of change orders during the life of the project, but it still came in $19,000 under the original contract amount. My second item is our school zone flasher pedestrian crossing project. You may remember from the November meeting, the commission approved a supplement of roughly $39,000 for additional services related to environmental report, some required tasks as part of a right-of-way acquisition at one of the locations associated with the project. I know the commission expressed some concern about just the perception of that extra level of effort relative to the original scope of the project. We're really just installing school zone crossing flasher signs, some ADA ramps, not a lot of, it's not complex work. So I also mentioned that there were some still pending additional tasks to meet some NDOT requirements, and the board ultimately authorized up to $50,000 at the November meeting for the supplement amount. Well, we did receive in mid-December that revised supplement. It was actually exceeded that amount. So then we decided we're going to take a step back. We worked with NDOT and the MPO to revise the project scope. We actually reduced it. In short, we decided to take this one location that needed the additional right-of-way. We're actually going to pull that out of the federally funded project. The city will take that on as a entirely separate, 100% city-funded project to install the school zone flashers and pedestrian crossing elements in a separate project. And then the remaining 15 locations will still move forward with the federally funded project on schedule for a July 2021 letting. And so what I am waiting for is for our consultant to provide us a revised supplement, a reduced supplement, now that a lot of these right-of-way acquisition tasks, these environmental report related tasks are no longer applicable. And we had a lot of these conversations with NDOT and the MPO occurred last week, so I don't have that revised number for you. So my request would be to request the commission to delegate approval authority to the RDC president and RDC secretary regarding the revised scope once we receive it. I'll remind you the amount previously approved in November was $39,399. And though I don't have it with me after speaking with the consultant, I do anticipate that now revised fee supplement to be less than that amount.
Okay. Any questions for Daniel?
I'll move for approval of that delegation of that authority to President and Secretary of the RDC.
Second.
Second by Mr. Moan. All right. Any questions, comments from commission members? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion approved 5-0.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Daniel. Anything from the mayor this afternoon, early evening?
I would just like to congratulate all of you for your reelection and look forward to another great year. There's a lot of exciting things coming down the pike.
Yes, there is, and we are excited about it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Moving on to the claims docket, there are two in here. I'm assuming one is to close out 2020 calendar year, and the next is for what we've received so far in 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. I don't know. I'll take, can I take them both at the same time, or do you want me to take each one individually? Okay. Nobody has an opinion. All right.
Your discretion.
Then I will take one motion to approve both the claims docket that is for 2020 or closes out 2020 is for $67,414, and the 2021 for January is $4,193,571.04. There's a lot of numbers, a lot more than that first one. So got me confused. Small brain. That's why I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion by Mr. Campbell. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any questions or comments from anybody? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right. Motion to approve the claims docket of both numbers is approved 5-0. Anybody else have anything that's out there in Zoom land? All right. I'm gonna have Mr. Campbell teach me how to get these fancy backgrounds so that next time I'm not in my car, I'm gonna be probably on a beach somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Next council meeting.
that's okay. That's my job from now until the next meeting. All right, hearing no other business, we will adjourn at roughly 5:17. Sorry we got started late today. For those of you who were out in the public and joined us.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you sticking with us. I hope everybody has a great week and a great weekend. We'll see you
All right.
next month.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.